Wake up, Detroit. I'm Joanne Watson, and this is your wake-up call.
When a brown girl child is born, the earth shifts. The sun is at half-mast. The moon waits for her first cry. The ancestors set the table. The flowers turn red as blood. This is your land, continent daughter, with tree trunk legs and branches for arms. This is your soil, black and fertile as your eyes facing an apartheid Jim Crow current past memory. Some of us begin the removal of shackles at birth. We grow into the armor of struggle quickly. We brew courage in our tea, blend bravery into our Sunday dinners. Joanne Watson, you understand nation building is not a part-time job. This dedicated life is sometimes lonely, a vulnerable choice, but it is the only way you know how to operate.
Wake up, Detroit, National Edition. Rise and shine. Wake up, Detroit is here. And we have a wonderful, wonderful lineup, and we have a wonderful sponsor today, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority.
All right.
And Dr. Glenda Glover, President and CEO of AKA's Alpha Kappa Alpha, is in the house. She's also the president of Tennessee State University, so she's honorable twice. Dr. Glenda Glover, welcome to your show, Wake Up Detroit, National Edition. And thank you for being here. Thank you for your sponsorship. And thank you for your wonderful leadership with Divine Nine that has produced a victory that has us all smiling today.
Woo. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Such a pleasure, an absolute pleasure and a blessing, a divine pleasure to have you here. And tell us how it feels to be on the cusp of the victory that you helped produce.
Oh, this is a moment of just tremendous pride. The opportunity for us for the country to pay it forward to Black women, who are the backbone of our democracy.
Come on, somebody.
It's so good that now it's a game changer for little Black girls and little Asian girls, little Indian girls, because if you can see it, you can believe it.
That's right.
It's an inspirational moment. But even bigger than that, this country is finding out the caliber of people that's produced by HBCUs.
Say that.
Just how important HBCUs are to the country, academically, intellectually, culturally, and how we have built this middle class. And what I like most of all is it puts to bed that question about are HBCUs still relevant?
Come on,
that's shattered now. So nobody in their right mind could ask that question ever again. Because here's a Black woman from Howard University.
That's right.
To the vice presidency. I mean, and it's produced by an HBCU.
That's right.
If that doesn't show the relevance of HBCUs, if we weren't already created, they'd have to create us.
That's right.
Where we are now.
That's right. You said it well, Madam President. And of course, you have two strokes of pride, because as a leader of the Alpha Kappa Alphas and Tennessee State University, you are able to witness it from a variety of spectrums.
Oh, it's a good day. It is. I mean, AKA's trained leaders. So does so do the other Divine Nine organizations, and we all work together now. And I can't tell you how proud everybody is now of how well the Greek-led organizations just got together. Now, I'm not the leader of the organization. We just all work hard and just laid out a strategy of getting out to vote. Each organization had a get out to vote plan, and we implemented that plan to make sure that we went into the highways and byways.
That's right.
Tell men, women,
come on now,
to go to those polls and vote.
You better say it.
It was
wonderful.
So we just happy. It's a great moment. And the next step, we're working with President Biden and his team, because I heard him say with my own ears that African Americans have had my back and I got yours.
I heard him say it too. All right now.
All right.
And so we're looking now to work with him as he tries to fulfill that promise.
That's right. We're going to make sure he fulfills that promise, and we claim that right now.
I know you are. You're going to have a chance with you now.
Such an honor to have you here. And once again, we thank you for sponsoring this edition of Wake Up Detroit, the National Edition. And we want to say welcome also, in addition to Madam President, we also have Richard Womack in the house. Richard Womack, a person who has been mightily laboring in the labor market, in the labor unions for this victory that we're celebrating today. Talk about your pride, Richard Womack.
Well, I want to say I want to first thank the Divine Nine for their great work that they've done in Pennsylvania, working with the ministers for the prayer of the election. I tell you, they have really done a great job, and it showed out on election day. We couldn't ask for a better turnout. One thing I can say is when we work together and we have a plan and we stick to the plan, it's hard to beat us. I mean, it's hard to beat us. And, you know, and that momentum we're trying to carry now over here in Georgia, where I'm at presently while I'm speaking here in Georgia, because the work is not yet done.
That's right.
We still have some work to do. But nobody, I don't think, thought that Georgia would turn out the way that it did on election day. And I have to admit, I was one of the ones who was surprised by the outcome. But I'm here today because I want to help support the teamwork and the groundwork that's already here. The AFL-CIO has been committed. We're sending in the troops to help, not to take over, but to help and assist. Because whatever they're doing in Georgia, it seems to be working. They have a plan, and we just want to be part of their plan. We're looking for a great outcome because we know that these 2 Senate seats is just as important as a presidential seat as well.
All right.
And I know if they show up and turn out the way they did on the election day, that January 5th, we can make history here in Georgia as well and across this nation. So I'm looking forward to working with them and continue working with them. And we're looking for a positive outcome because we know God is able, and we know if God is on our side, he's more than the world against us.
Go ahead. I'm going to bring in our sister who has a tagline of Amazing Grace, the great Dorothy Jackson, JD. Tell us what it means to you. And I want to thank you for being our executive producer, providing this outstanding panel of distinguished guests. And as an AKA yourself, I know you have a large measure of pride as you think about the role of the sororities and fraternities in achieving this victory.
Well, we've all been very active in getting out the vote because, as you know, the Black Congress on Health, Law, and Education, our campaign theme for 2020 was moving from protest to power at the polls, not just marching, but taking action and getting all our people to the polls. And I think we did that. And as far as the sorority, this is not new for us. Alpha Kappa Alpha does this in every election. We drive people to the polls, we feed people, we register people, we educate people. And I like to point out that Dr. Glover, who wears 2 very important hats, is a leader of the sorority and of Tennessee State University. So she is very influential with young people, undergraduate members of the sorority and the students on her campus. And she has done some great things and she's very humble. So that's why I have to say all these things on her behalf. She's got her football team at Tennessee State to register to vote. She's had undergraduates strolling to the polls, everything that could be done, praying every day at 6 o'clock around the world. We didn't pull out any stops. And I just like to, for all the people who say, why do you all stay in sororities and fraternities after college? This is why. We have to reach back and help our young people.
Yes.
It's our duty to help our communities.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you, Dorothy Jackson. And certainly you have also been a great leader in a number of fields yourself, and we salute you. And you have a right to claim this victory yourself, as does Attorney Derek A. Humphreys, the leader of Black Congress on Health, Law, Economics. Talk to us about your, now what do we do after the election progress, Derek Humphreys?
Well, thank you very much, Reverend Watson. It's an honor to be on the show again and to join this illustrious panel of leaders that who have assembled here today. And as I've said in the past, All roads converge at Wake Up Detroit, the crossroads where leaders meet. Moving from protest to power at the polls is the motto of the Black Congress on Health, Law, and Economics. And as we move forward, and I say on behalf of BCHLE, welcome to Dr. Glover. It is such an honor to have you back on the show and to talk about the leadership that you have uniquely provided.
Yeah.
Not only at Tennessee State and AKA, but throughout the country, and particularly in the South. And so,
Thank you.
as we move forward, I see that Dr. Dennis Rogers has also joined us.
Yeah.
And it is an honor to have him as he reports from his home in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Come on, somebody.
There we go. And so, as we move forward, and more people become aware of Wake Up Detroit, the national edition.
Yeah.
And they view it through YouTube around the world. And that is so important because this is your program is devoted to the vote and getting folk out to the polls to vote. And that message has now been carried to the 1,000, I think it's 1,000, Dr. Glover, 1,000 chapters.
Yeah, 1,025.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
There we go.
25.
Yeah.
There we are. And to have the affiliation with AFL-CIO through Richard Womack.
Yeah.
I have a question. As we move forward into Georgia, you know, Georgia was not one of the targeted states.
Correct.
It was just another state, right?
Right.
Now, Georgia has become the focus of the national's attention. And
Yeah.
so the question then is why? Why has Georgia become the focus now of the nation's and the world's attention? And the question then becomes, what's at stake? And I'd like to invite Dennis, Dr. Rogers, to give us a sense of what's at stake in Georgia, why it is so important.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd like to say, just to start, I think Harriet Tubman is smiling today.
Hey.
Sojourner Truth is smiling today. Fannie Lou Hamer is smiling today.
That's
Shirley
right.
Chisholm is smiling today. All of the women founders of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, Sigma Gamma Rho, as well as Zeta Phi Beta are smiling today. And as a proud graduate of Howard University, well done, Bison Nation, HBCU Nation, and the Divine Nine Nation. And I'd like to thank Eric Humphreys for making it possible for me to attend Howard University. And so, yes, that's good stuff, good stuff. So, you know, through the lens of Dr. Ronald Walters, who was the person who really inspired me to become a political scientist, the hard fact is the Senate is still up for grabs. And there are 2 Senate seats in play. And those 2 Senate seats are in the same state of Georgia because, as Tony mentioned last week with us, Georgia's not a winner. It's not a plurality. You need a plurality to win. It's not a plurality state. You need 50% plus 1. Thus, there is a runoff in Georgia. And just like Philadelphia made a difference in Pennsylvania, Atlanta made the difference in Georgia. And we know Trumpka is from Pennsylvania, and we know that AFL-CIO pulled out the stops. We know that all politics are local. What we're hearing from the street is that it's neighbor talking to neighbor. It's church member talking to church member. It's sorority fraternity member talking to one another that is making the difference in Georgia. So even as this particular president doesn't want to leave the White House, we know that the wheels of inevitability are turning, and what we need to do is to encourage everyone we know to get out and vote in Georgia. Early voting has begun. The actual election day is January the 5th, So we know all those college students, get your vote in now before you go home for the holidays. Everyone, it's time to get out and vote in Georgia.
Indeed,
That's
the
right.
law,
That's right.
You
the
know,
law of Georgia is that candidates must receive a majority of the vote to win an election. And so
Yes.
in this instance, no candidate broke 50%.
right.
Okay, the top two vote getters then face off as they are again in a runoff election to determine the winner. I'm sorry. Dr. Glover, you were going to say?
You know what? As I was listening to Dr. Rogers, I was just thinking, God has a way of making things right. You know, you look at Detroit. Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back. You know, in Michigan. It was Michigan, the first one that shot that blue wall, the same Detroit. And then you look at Philadelphia when Walter, what's his last name? Walter Wallace was shot and killed in Philadelphia. It was Philadelphia that came in and decided that those 20 votes in Philadelphia put him over, put Biden over the top. And then in Georgia, Clayton County. Nope, Georgia was even in play. It wasn't one of the states we had marked off. It was still a possibility, but it was a light possibility, a slight possibility. And then you look at Ahmed Arbery. I mean, just Georgia. God has a way of making things right. And Dr. Rogers, we can't forget what you all did in North Carolina. You know, it's a pivotal state right now, but it's coming around. You keep up that good work. I just say,
Yes,
I growing up in church, God has a way of making things right. So I'm looking at how these two states, that blue wall was shattered, and all these things that happened now came back around. It's come full circle.
Let me send it to you right now because the show is on. Okay.
It's just amazing.
When you think about the influence of Georgia leader Stacey Abrams, my goodness, who has been organizing. Even though she lost, many of us think she really won, but her victory was snatched from her. But for her to reinvest her time and her talent, her organizing skill, to really create a huge machine to get the vote out.
Mm-hmm.
And she stands on the shoulders, we know, of C.T. Vivian, of Joseph Lowry, of Mrs. Lowry. We know Melanie Campbell is from Atlanta. Well, she spent her formative years at Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
And all those HBCUs made a difference. Forgive me if I'm jumping in, but the Spirit just moved me to say that in Atlanta, it was the masses of the people under divine leadership that is making a difference.
And
That's right.
And they're coming back out. They're coming back out again. Mm-hmm. People say, well, they're not going to come back out. Yes, they will. They know what's on the ballot. When you know what's on the ballot, you come out and vote. So I'm really proud of how that voter turnout in Georgia. Stacey Abrams, when Barack Obama came down there with his sleeves rolled up, he had so much fun making that last speech. That turnout was high. That same spirit is still there, and they're coming back out. And I have every reason to believe they come back out. Those HBCUs in Atlanta and in Georgia, those students were all excited. They still are, because the way that this ballot, they know what's on the ballot, know how important it is.
That's right.
So in terms of that importance, Richard Womack, AFL-CIO, what's at stake here? What's at stake in Georgia? Why do we care about what happens in Georgia? Why should we care about what happens in Georgia? And what is it that has really catapulted Georgia to the top of the nation's attention politically? And AFL-CIO's attention.
Like everyone was saying, Georgia was not even on the map to start with. Everybody kind of wrote Georgia off. It was not one of the targeted states. For years, Georgia has been suppressed by voting. I mean, they constantly kept their foot on their necks to keep our people from voting. But now we feel like the people has turned around, and they see that there is hope, that there's a vision, that they can turn Georgia around, and they have been doing it. And so when you say what's at stake, Georgia is like the center of America right now. This can be the whole change of the American outlook. You know, they said, let's make America great again. Georgia's going to make America great again. You know? That's for sure. And people are motivated. Now they feel like they have the confidence. They know that this can be done. And with the support of everyone else coming in, it just energized everyone across the nation. And that's what I love. It's uniting us all back together. And as I say, when we unite together, we are a force to be reckoned with. And so that's what's at stake. We're going to be that powerful force going forth in the future.
Excellent. And we have joining us the national president of the National Urban League, the Honorable Mark Morial. Welcome to Wake Up Detroit, the national edition. Give us the good news as we all are celebrating this victory of this historic election. The Honorable Mark Morial. Must be still getting connected. Mark Morial?
He's there. I don't know if he can hear us.
Unmute.
It's connecting to audio for him.
Okay. Well, you know,
Well,
he'll make his way in.
okay. Maybe in the meantime, we might ask Dorothy Jackson based on your experience of having worked for the leadership on Capitol Hill and your experience having been also executive director for the Congressional Black Caucus. What's at stake here with regard to the U.S. Senate and the outcome of the elections, the two elections in Georgia? How will it affect the balance and or the composition of the U.S. Senate?
It will affect the U.S. Senate because when the Democrats win those two seats, it'll either be 50-50 in the Senate or it will be less of a majority on the other side. That way, the other party cannot band together to try to stop every program of President-elect Biden's like they did to President Obama. And also, when you have it that close, there are some people in that party who are people who have decent values, but they tend to get bullied by their colleagues and their peers. It will be easier for the Democratic leadership to reach out to those people who have decent values and get them to come over and give them a majority, because there won't be such a big gulf in the difference between one side and the other side. So that would be very helpful.
And as Richard Womack has indicated, Tuesday, January 5th is the day when the vote occurs. Now, leading up to that, and a little bit of history, Georgia's political breakdown is that the current governor, the Senate president, the Speaker of the House in Georgia are all Republicans. And the history of runoff elections in Georgia, since 1988, there have been 8 statewide runoffs for general or special elections. Democrats have only won 1 out of those 8 runoffs. Now, against that backdrop, the stakes become even higher as we think about what is needed. And I then turn to Richard Womack because of the considerable resources.
So I sent you the link.
Okay, yes, I have it.
Interestingly enough, New York got rid of the travel list and is instead imposing a testing rule for all states.
Is that written?
For New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut.
Is that written down?
Yeah. There's an article and then
Mark,
can you, guidelines. I'm going to
hold on one second. Hello,
we can hear your conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Richard?
Okay. All right. I hate to ask you to do this. Could you repeat that question?
Okay, here it is, the bottom line. And that is in the eight runoffs that have occurred in the state of Georgia, only Democrat candidates have been successful only one time. Now, that ups the ante in terms of the turnout.
Right.
What is AFL as the CIO, as the largest representative of labor, prepared to do?
Well, I can tell you that a lot of our affiliate unions are employing a lot of their members to come into Georgia to help with the ground game. We're going to have people help doing lit drops. We're going to do it in a safe manner, hanging door hangers. We're going to have like visibility all out through Georgia. I mean, if it means the sound system, we may have some GOTV rallies. We're going to have massive phone bank operation and text banking going on as well. So it's like all hands on deck because we know that this can happen. And we want to make that sure that we don't leave any stone unturned, that we're going to give all the efforts that we have to help support those that are organizations on the ground here in Georgia to make sure that they have what they need. If it's the manpower, whatever they need, we want to be that support to them because we know that is very important and this could be the new face of America.
All right. It's the bottom of the hour, and we do want to acknowledge our sponsor, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. The president and CEO is in the house, Dr. Glenda Glover, who is also the president of Tennessee State University, HBCU. Welcome to Wake Up Detroit, the national edition, and thank you for being a sponsor of this historic program as we do a debriefing of the historical national election and also talk about the road ahead, including Georgia. So thank you, Madam President. Thank you twice.
Thank you.
We want to say a good morning, a special greeting to all the
good morning to all the listeners. Good morning. We're talking about Georgia getting the vote out, and we're depending on the Divine Nine, the other organizations, the collaborations that were started, that advanced through the November 3rd election. It's not over yet. We still have to get that Senate together.
That's exactly right.
I have to go on record by saying Alpha Kappa Alpha cannot endorse a candidate because we're a nonprofit. But we can tell you how proud we are of the folk who won. We can tell you that get out to vote is your civic duty, and we're going to work hard as we can to get people out to vote in Georgia. It was just part two of to get out to vote. We've done part one, now it's part two.
All right, Madam President, part two. Part two is upon us, and once again, we thank you and the AKA's Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated for sponsoring this program this day. Thank you. My, Madam President is in the house. We're going to check in. Mark Morial, are you ready?
I am here. How you doing? Good morning.
Good morning.
President.
Hey, it's great to be with you all. And I just finished the workout. I apologize. I only have on a t-shirt, but I lost track of time this morning. But it's great to be with everybody this morning. Thank you.
It's so wonderful to have you here. The Honorable Mark Morial, a great president of the National Urban League, a former mayor, and a leader for our people for all time. And we thank you for being a very special guest. Tell us your perspective from the historic election of last week, and also your thoughts about moving forward.
So let me just say good morning to everyone. And just Black voters, Black people came through.
Mm-hmm.
That's the message. Black people came through. Let me give you some numbers. And look, I am not always pleased with the pundits on MS, CNN, and beyond because they miss one of the most important dynamics of the election. So if you look at Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Wayne County, and Detroit, Philadelphia, and Atlanta, Fulton County alone. Just those 4 places alone.
Come on now.
There were 250,000 more people who voted in 2020 than voted in 2016.
Come on now.
A surge and an increase in turnout. If Black turnout had been the same as it was in 2016, Biden would not have won Wisconsin, nor Michigan, nor Pennsylvania, and certainly not Georgia. Now, this is important because what it shows is that the work of historic civil rights organizations like ours,
right,
and many others, the work of the Divine Nine, the work of faith-based, the work of community-based, the work of Black Lives Matter activists, the work online, the work on the street, the work in the community, the work all across to push our people to understand the consequences of this election. It absolutely worked.
Yes.
The Black vote. Trump was able to boost his turnout in his rural base areas in a pretty impressive way. And but for what Biden was able to do, which was to boost Black turnout in places like Arizona, boost Latino turnout.
Yeah.
In many communities in the suburbs around Detroit, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Milwaukee, just to name a few cities, he also increased his numbers. So all of these elements of his coalition were necessary to be able to win. But I want to say this. I want people to start talking about the popular vote. The popular vote margin is now at 5 million.
Yep.
That's a significant margin. It is the popular vote which confers the mandate.
That's right.
It is the popular vote which affirms the consent of the governed.
Yeah.
It's the popular vote that we need to focus on. I mean, look, this electoral college is a quirky, antiquated anachronism from the old days. It's a point system which gives small states more power. It's not a balanced system. I do not like the Electoral College. For now, we have to live with it, but we shouldn't believe that somehow the Electoral College is a good way in a 21st century democracy to elect a president. And Biden has, in winning the popular vote and winning the Electoral College, aligned the two. Barack Obama aligned the two, right? Bill Clinton aligned the two. George W. Bush, first time, no popular vote victory. Donald Trump, certainly no popular vote victory. And so it's important to understand that since 2020, we have had 2 presidents elected without winning what I call the consent of the governed, which is a popular vote victory. And we got to know our history. And we also have to know that the Republican Party has managed to capture the presidency twice since 1988. Now that's 32 years ago, by capturing the popular vote only once, and that is in the George W. Bush re-election of 2004. So Black voters truly came through. Now, what do we want? We want a seat at the table on all major decisions. We want an administration that looks like America and has African-American talent in key positions. We want an agenda where racial justice is infused and included in all elements. In the COVID plan, we have to make sure that our community is not riding on the back of the bus when it comes to getting the vaccine. We've got to make sure that there is a intentional effort for Black workers and Black businesses to be involved. We want to, lots of work needs to be done to expand the diversity of the judiciary. Donald Trump appointed, I think, 8 out of some 300 judges he appointed were African American. Some 92% of all the judges he appointed were white men. So there's very little diversity. So Joe Biden's we gotta play a little catch up here when it comes to the judiciary and U.S. attorneys, in addition to cabinet and sub-cabinet positions. So I want the community to continue to voice what I call a partnership with the Biden-Harris administration ought to look like. Action on voting rights, action on criminal justice reform. What we cannot do is sit back and say, well, you know, we voted for you, now just deliver. No, this is a continuous engagement.
That's right.
Continuous conversation, a
That's
continuous advocacy for the things we need. And that's where, you know, the National Urban League and the civil rights leadership, we're going to work with the administration. We're going to push them, pull them, tug them. When they do the right thing, we're going to help them push back against, you know, Mitch McConnell's going to be there with his traditional blockading, obfuscating, delaying. I mean, it's just who the man is, right? It's just his leverage of power. You know, make no mistake about it. He's a savvy and clever operator for his agenda, not our agenda. But we need to hold Mitch McConnell to his word. Mitch McConnell has said to me privately that he's never voted against a civil rights bill since he's been in the Congress. Now, he has played the game of blocking them from coming up for a vote. Well, we have to call Mitch McConnell's number on voting rights, on criminal justice reform. So I'm going to lay the groundwork now with Mitch McConnell to be true to whatever he believes or whatever his word has been with respect to these important things. We have to fix the Voting Rights Act. We have to fix some of the damage that's been made in the system. But let me just say this. You know, this method of allowing people to vote by mail or vote early or vote on election day, right, to have options to vote, made the process go smoother. Now, the count may take a little longer, but it means you didn't have massive lines on election day. And I think we learned a lesson that in this race, we're going to have 70, 100, and maybe 50 million voters. Yeah. 50 million. That's a lot of people to try to vote on one day in 50 states and, you know, however many counties we have in the United States. So I really believe that Black voters, the Black community stepped up. I know that we have a number of people like Jim Clyburn, Benny Thompson, Cedric Richmond, three Black members of Congress who made a bet on Biden early, very, very early, stuck with him. Jim Clyburn may be the godfather of this victory.
That's right.
For what he did, right. And we have to lift Jim up, right? And we have to lift up that he had the fortitude and the sensibility to understand that winning a general election is a very difficult task, and in a presidential general, you have to have a candidate that's got a broad appeal, right? And I'm going to push back on all this, you know, effort by the media to stoke up infighting, you know, premature infighting. We want the president-elect who, in his speech on Saturday night, talked about racial justice, right along with climate change, right along with COVID, right along with the economy. He lifted it up as one of the 4 main pieces, right? 4 main pieces. And that, to me, is not something I've heard from a previous president.
That's right.
And so, you know, let's put some historical context around. And so, yeah, we got to hold people accountable. I know some people are skeptical. They may be nervous. That's real. That's real.
So Mark, Mark, we have coming up on January 5th, a special election in Georgia. Yes. And so we've talked about the significance of that race. And we've noted that Georgia wasn't considered one of the critical states, but now Georgia's at the center of the public's attention. What do you see is at stake in Georgia? What does the Urban League see as what's at stake in the election that will take place on January 5th in Georgia?
Last evening, I had a great talk for about 10 minutes with Stacey Abrams, the very, very great and effective leader who I think deserves a lot of credit for this shift in Georgia. She understood that there were many unregistered, disempowered, unmotivated voters, and that if we elevated these new voters, Georgia has changed. It's evolved. Metropolitan Atlanta, not only Atlanta, the city, but DeKalb and Fulton and Gwinnett and Cobb, these counties have dramatically changed as African Americans, many from the South. I've got a whole contingent of New Orleanians living in the Atlanta area, including one of my favorite faith leaders, Reverend Bishop Paul S. Morton, who now has a congregation there. And Georgia has changed, and I think in the election we should keep our focus on what our collective job is, and that is to get everyone who voted in this presidential election to come back out and vote again on January, is it 5th or 7th? Is it the 5th?
The 5th.
Yeah. We have to focus on turnout, and people have to understand what's at stake is, wouldn't it be powerful if Vice President Kamala Harris was able to cast the tie-breaking vote in a 50-50 Senate?
You better say it.
And wouldn't it put her in a pivotal, important role in American history over the next 2 years? I mean, we have to recognize that, and this is what I believe. You have people romanticizing divided government. I think that Biden and the Democrats ought to have the same shot that Trump and the Republicans had. Trump and the Republicans in 2016 controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House. And they were fundamentally able to put most of their program in place. And I think the Democrats deserve that opportunity. I think divided government has yielded gridlock. We saw it in the Obama years. We saw it in the Clinton years. And look, let's be honest, George W. Bush had the same opportunity for 4 years. He controlled the House, the White House, the House, the Senate, and the White House. So I want people to understand, sometimes these guys on cable TV, they start romanticizing, well, divided government and bipartisan. This is not about the politics of bipartisanship. This is about the politics of the people's coalition and the people's affirmation and the people's will. It's important for people to recognize that the Senate, again, is a constitutionally created body. But the Senate and its members, you have states that are very small, that have 2 senators, and states that are very large. One man, one vote is not the allocation of power in the United States Senate. And it's not to diminish the institution of the Senate, but it is to say that, for the Senate, people like Mitch McConnell and Ted Cruz and to sit back and just block, because they have only one thing in mind, and that is getting control of the presidency in 4 years, to thwart the will of almost 75, 76, 77 million people who voted. See, we have to lay the framework that, and same thing in Georgia, people have to just turn out. We understand now, when we participate and vote, we can make a difference.
And so now we have on with you as part of this panel today, Richard Womack, who has said that labor is turning out everybody that it can from across the country to go to Georgia. We have Dr. Glenda Glover, whose organization Alpha Kappa Alpha is a sponsor of this particular segment, who has said that they are recruiting members of AKA from across the country to go to Georgia. And so as we look at it,
National Urban League will continue its Reclaim Your Vote campaign, and we're going to be working in the same fashion. We are going to take the midnight train, the daytime train,
Hey,
down to Georgia.
LA.
okay? So you see, so all of you, as I'm hearing it, see some stake in Georgia for the voters and citizens of, say, the state of Michigan. Why is this important to those who live in Michigan, those who live in California, those who live in Texas? Why is Georgia so important on January 5th? What do we tell them?
I'll give you an answer. I mean, it's simple. The Senate controls national legislation. And this control, meaning you have a majority of the seats in the Senate, means you can control the agenda for legislation. So if you want the president-elect who become president to be able to not have to play games and water down and make unacceptable compromises in the context of this important time in American history, you want to see his party have control of the Senate. I mean, you just, you know, it's a simple proposition in the legislative branch. So whether you're in California, which voted overwhelmingly blue, or Michigan, which voted significantly blue, if you want those things, a COVID national plan, a significant infrastructure plan, a jobs plan, attention to racial justice, climate change, you know, the right of people to workers to organize. You want these things, then you got to be concerned about what's going on in Georgia, because the balance of power, it's almost like it's an election for control of the Senate. That's it, fundamentally what it is. And I think we got to pull out every stop, put every piece of energy into it, turn out every vote. And look, you've got Reverend Raphael Warnock, a great progressive leader, a man of Alpha Phi Alpha, I might add.
come on now.
That's right, he is.
Who you know, I just have tremendous respect for. And then you've got John Ossoff, who's a young, cut his teeth as a young leader. So, I mean, look, the thing it's important to recognize, you've got, in Georgia, you got new generation leaders. You know, this is a next generation of leadership to usher in a new era in Georgia. So all of us have to turn out to vote. We just got to turn. We can't endorse him, can't endorse Warnock. And then what I say about him personally is because of my longstanding relationship with him, which goes back many, many, many years. And that's the point, right? We have to turn out the vote again. Let's catch our breath.
That's right.
Early voting begins on the 14th of December, I believe. So not much time. We just got to mobilize.
Derek,
That's
may I
right.
just add one thing to what President Morial said? The Senate also has power under the Constitution's advise and consent clause to confirm the president's nominees for federal judges. Even people don't think about this, but even flag officers in the military. All of these important things have to be confirmed by the Senate. So we should also, we don't
Cabinet.
want them to have that power, which is very important.
In addition to all his cabinet members.
Exactly.
That's right.
Welcome, Tony.
Hi,
And
Derek.
Tony
Good
Harrison in the house. Tony Harrison, Tell us,
Good
the
morning.
Honorable Tony Harrison. We're so glad you're here.
I'm so glad you keep
We
doing
know
what
that
you
our work is
so
still
well.
cut out for us. We have Georgia. Thank you. Thank you.
I want us to have
Our
Georgia
work
on our
is
mind
yet ahead of us.
in every way that we can. But, you know, we do
Come on
not
now.
have to be in Georgia to help win Georgia. The networks associated with this organization sending out that message to reach into Georgia, reach into their relatives, reach into their Facebook, reach into their other social media platforms, and sending out that message that everybody should reach back to Georgia and reach back to the relatives, the friends, the associates, family, etc., that they have in Georgia with a message from the outside of what you can do there. And my labor union friends, I just hope Brother Womack will pass the word that they need to make sure that they're members of these labor unions are registered voters. Because I think we sometimes assume something about labor unions.
Right.
And I was doing a presentation many years ago at one of the International Labor Union's political action meetings and asked everybody who is registered. The president then asked his political director at that time to confirm what their knowledge was, and they had just completed an internal investigation and found out at least 30% of their membership were not registered voters. So, I mean, we have some work to do with our union friends on making sure that these internationals who have a list of their members can get compared to a voting list of their members in Georgia, and making sure that they are reaching out to those members to make sure that they are registered. We have time for that to take place and can still have a significant impact on this. And we may pick up some folks of a different complexion to be voting in the right way if the labor union leadership is doing more than rhetorical outpourings.
Based on your knowledge of Georgia, what do you see as the major challenge? Is it what you just said, and that is assuring that all those who qualify are registered to vote? Or are there other obstacles and
I think
challenges?
the greater challenge that we have is to proselytize the fact that we can make this work, that we can in fact achieve this victory. And we need to drive into the heads of the Black community as the foundation stone. We can do this. This is possible. Let us do what we need to do to reach out to make it happen. Sometimes the legacy of white supremacy in our brains will impede us from thinking what is possible, to impede us from believing in ourselves, and then therefore don't act accordingly. Now, also between now and then, I hope we can try to figure out how we can better understand the motivation of Black men. Now, I'm not beating up on Black men, but we are 80% voting in the right direction and 20% voting. We need to have some clarity on that 20%. Now, the sisterhood is strong at 91%, and that's solid, and that's based on the exit poll analysis. But we really need to try to get a better understanding on what messages that we need to be sending into the Black community. Not only is it possible, but we need to do some research in where is it and what message do we need to be sending to Black men.
I want to respond to that because that question came up right here in my house last week, and my 18-year-old son voted for the first time. And I said, what happened with Black men? He said, Dad, let me show you. He pulls out his phone. He said, let me show you all these ads. He shows me all these YouTube ads, which was simply about Biden's vote for the criminal justice bill, crime bill back in 1994. I said, well, what? He said, Dad, he says, some people are mad at Biden for voting for the criminal justice bill. He says that you just don't know how many ads they put out. And so what they did is they did targeted digital ads. You know, they identified by the use of data Black men within a certain demographic, and they pounded for 2 to 3 weeks with this advertising. And, you know, that sort of undercover way of going directly to only particular voters. So my son got it. I didn't get it. I didn't get these ads. He got it. He and his friends got it. And I said, very interesting. And that was, they made an effort to throw a wedge on that issue. And it goes to show you that going forward, you cannot presume or assume. There's got to be intentionality going forward to do something about criminal justice reform in a big way, in a significant way, in an aggressive way, in a way that demonstrates a willingness to fight. And that's my takeaway, you know, I mean, that may not be the total descriptor, but it was interesting for my 18-year-old son to do that reveal. You know,
Dr. Glover, Dr. Glover, you work with, in particular, young men and women in that age zone, 18 to 22. What do you see as the role that HBCUs, in particular in Georgia now, as well as in other states, can play to increase the turnout and the focus of that age group?
They have to continue to work hard. They came through in this last election. They came through November 3rd. Every HBCU campus, there was some type of voter engagement, whether it was voter education, voter mobilization, voter registration. There was some type of voter engagement, because I think all of the Divine Nine had something going on. I know Alpha Kappa Alpha had on every campus where we had an AKA chapter. They came out and voted, and they're going to go back and vote. They're so excited. In fact, we took a bus from Nashville to Memphis to take students their first time voting, and they so enjoyed it. We had them just voting. You have to vote, vote, vote. And so I think since they came out before, you got to come. Everybody who voted before, you can't take a break. Go back and vote again, and we must continue to talk about we can win this. We can't let this rhetoric, this propaganda about we don't come out, we don't go back out when it's a runoff. We do go back out, and we will win if we can keep that message going. What's on the ballot? What's going to take them back out there? Healthcare is on the ballot. Student loan debt is on the ballot. Higher education is on the ballot. You know, the Trump said he did all this for higher education, but what didn't happen for higher education is this: there were no funds available for research and development and for STEM programs to become magnet houses. There was no funding for that in the last administration. I don't know where that's coming from. There was no funding for infrastructure or for needing some sustainability. Those are things that we present to the Biden administration we need. Yes, we need the emergency funding that the Black Caucus fought for, not the administration. Alma Adams, Marsha Fudge. You have folk in the Black Caucus that fought for that. And so, but we need more than that. We want to make HBCUs major research conglomerates.
Yes.
So we can't do that without the assistance of the federal government to see what we represent in this world, see our beauty and what we do. And then, so that's what we're looking for now. That's what's on that ballot. And that's how we're going to get the young people to go back out again and vote, because you are on the ballot. Your name, you're on the ballot.
All right, now she's got the last word. Madam President, thank you.
Hey, my pleasure. I gotta hop, Rev.
We thank you, the Honorable Mark Morial,
We'll
President.
see you next time. All right.
Thank you, Dr. Glenda Glover, sponsor, leader, President, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, President, Tennessee State University. Madam President, we thank you.
Thank you.
We thank all of our panelists, all of our special guests today. We thank everybody for being a part of Wake Up Detroit, the national edition, and we will continue on another edition straight ahead. Wake up, Detroit.
When a brown girl child is born, the earth shifts. The sun is at half mast. The moon waits for her first cry. The ancestors set the table. The flowers turn red as blood. This is your land, continent daughter, with tree trunk legs and branches for arms. This is your soil. Black and fertile as your eyes facing an apartheid, Jim Crow, current, past memory. Some of us begin the removal of shackles at birth. We grow into the armor of struggle quickly. We brew courage in our tea, blend bravery into our Sunday dinners. Joanne Watson, you understand nation building is not a part-time job. This dedicated life is sometimes lonely, a vulnerable choice, but it is the only way you know how to operate. You are wired for the movement. In your black